She's married to a guy that worshipped the ground she walked on. A nice guy, Al Kaplan. He was really one of the nicest guys you want to know. And she decides to divorce him. The reason she gave is the mother. See, he was an only son, and the mother was a widow. She didn't like the mother, or the mother this, the mother that. Bullshit, she's not married to the mother. You're married to the son, and you don't divorce her because of the mother. But when it comes to money, my sister Bertha, for some damn reason, was all there. Money. And I'm quite sure she said, well, you know, if you think that this is what you want, you know, go ahead and do it. And she divorced Al. Another story is, when my father came up to visit me at Rock Hill, he came up a few times. He'd take the bus up and I'd pick him up. At the corner there, 17, so on. And while we're walking around, sort of, while we're up there, my father says to me, by the way, where we live is a two-family house, brick, semi-detached. There's two houses attached together. They each had their own entrance and everything. And this house had 3 garages with 2 apartments, upstairs, 1 downstairs. And the landlord was an Irish woman, McGann. Her husband worked for Holy Cross Church. They had a cemetery, and he worked for the cemetery, walking distance from our house on 34th Street at Church Avenue. So my father tells me that she wanted to move a little closer to the church. Frankly, I think there were too many Jews around. She wasn't anti-Semitic, but she was a very strong Catholic. And she says to my father, I want $8,500 for the house. For you, $8,000. All I had to do was sign my name. GI Bill, we get the mortgage. Pay it out as rent. We have an apartment, you rent it, that pays the mortgage. 3 garages, which today, 1 garage brings in more rent than the apartment and the garages. But I'm positive that my father went to Bertha again, and he told her. And she said, oh no, 8,000, what is it? Going to get a mortgage and then. But her motive wasn't anything other than she would lose esteem. If I was to own a house, I was sort of, and she rented an apartment, no, don't buy it. Yeah. And when it came to my sister, money, yeah. I'm only guessing at this one, I'm positive it is so. And my father at the house again, he would have a nice 2-family house with an income and all. Oh no, whatever reason she gave, my father decided not to buy it. That house today is probably worth over $300,000 for 2 apartments and 3 garages. You get over $100 a month for each garage. Much more than that, I think. And they're paying for it. Because the guy that bought it, an Italian guy, had a couple of daughters, teenagers. It didn't take long. Says to my father, my daughter's getting married, I want the apartment, move. Right. So he moved, and he moved to 34th Street. He found an apartment for almost double the rent, which at that time wasn't much. Was a lot, $75.
Your niece was asking Alissa if she knew her grandfather very much. And
I said I did.
Alissa told her that she went on the internet and she found a certificate of him on the boat to Lufthansa.
Did you tell her about the
certificate?
The island?
Yes, Ellis Island and everything.
Ellis Island, that you did that?
Yep.
Oh, the wall?
Yeah.
You told her about the certificate?
I heard Ellis Island just opened back up again. Something I'd love to
I
go
never
down
knew it
there
was
and-
shut.
Yeah. Take a picture of the wall, because Grandpa's name,
Well,
your mother, and also Aaron Zellman and Rose Zellman. It's like the Vietnam Memorial where they have a
Yeah.
wall and they got all the
They have the
names
names
carved in.
now on it.
Yeah, their names are carved in the wall there forever. You can take a picture of it or make a paper rubbing of it.
now, my brother Sidney was independent.
He was a good guy. I remember him vaguely, but what I
He was
remember is that he was
A very
happy,
nice guy. You couldn't ask for
nice,
a more honest,
fun.
will do anything for you that he
Lovable.
could. There's one thing true is he wasn't a great worker. Because when he was growing up, my father had a business and all, and my father tried to get him in and all to help. My father had deliveries to make, make them and so on. And he told me once, my father, he goes out with the truck once and he doesn't come back. My father goes looking for him. He finds him playing poker. But, you heard what my cousin Mike, I don't know if you remember Mike Horowitz, Maya Horowitz, I don't know if you remember him.
Vaguely.
He came up to Rock Hill and spent the week once after the season was still open. I had the middle bungalow open. He had one son.
Funny.
Anyway, there was an affair out at Leonard's, out on the island, and I don't know whose bar mitzvah. It was either my brother Fred or B's son. Jesse was having a bar, no, he had it in Singers. It must have been my brother's son that had a bar mitzvah. And we were there, and Mike was invited. He came up from Philadelphia and all. Again, the word for the affair, you call it a, where you eat and all that crap. Reception, whatever. So I said to him, oh, by the way, my brother Sidney, believe it or not, he's considered a veteran of World War I. And World War I was 85 years ago. So the war was over, 1917, and when I don't know what happened, but something happened, and he went to join the army. And when he went there, he didn't have a birth certificate, but they were so eager to sign him up, by the way, that was it. They said to him, he was only 16. He said, how old are you? He said, I'm 21.
Okay.
So he says, I was born in Russia, my father came here when I was a baby, and it was he was the oldest, so he was pretty old. And they signed him up, and he was in the army, and the peace hadn't been officially declared yet. We were still in a state of armistice, so he's considered to be, ever hear the bonus marches in Washington when they went there?
They wanted their bonus money.
He was one of the bonus marches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Of course, he's a World War I veteran that were promised a bonus for like in 1988, and they said, we need it now, there's a depression, we want it. They eventually drove him out. MacArthur was then the head of the army, and Hoover told him, get him out of here. And they chased him out, burned down all their tents and shacks and everything.
They built the Insurrection City, or Resurrection City.
Well, I don't know what they called it.
Yeah.
But he wanted to retire from whatever he was doing. He used to drive a cab mostly. So he went to Social Security and he said, I don't have a birth certificate. He says, I was born in Russia, but I was in the army, and here's my discharge, and they have him down for 1916, for the age of 21 when he signed, when he was 5 years younger. So he was only 57. You could go into Social Security at 62. Well, he's 57, but according to his discharge and all, he's 60. He's 5 years older.
Right.
So he gave him Social Security. That's what he told me. He says, I'm probably the only guy that screwed Social Security. So I told Meyer that. Mike, I said, Mike, Sidney retired.
Yeah.
So, 2 words he says to me, from what?
Yeah, really. Hi there.
In any event, he was always on the outs of the family because he wouldn't knuckle under to Bertha, and Bertha somehow ruled it, and he was on the outs. The other, my sister Doris, may she rest in peace, the one that they butchered, she was an abscess ovary. They didn't clean it up. For a year she complained of pain, eventually died of septicemia. Nobody sued or anything. My sister Jane married, they were welcomed into the light, but him, stay where you are.
She was telling us, Mrs. Aunt, that one of the sisters is not doing too well. She has a heart
Yes,
Val.
Jane
Yeah.
evidently.
That's who I was gonna say.
And she's no youngster, my next one older than me is my sister Sylvia, and then older than her, but see, my mother had a kid every 2 years. So, she's close to 90,
Yeah.
and it's quite a burden for her to take care of Sylvia. I called her when Susie got her house right next to her. It was a beautiful house, 2 bedrooms. We could have gotten it, I'm sure, for 120. They wanted 125 or something. And I called her, I said, look, come up here, there's a nice house, I'll buy it. And all, they don't wanna leave Brooklyn. I can't understand it, living in a totally black neighborhood, tells me how lousy the kids are and the neighbors are and all.
But it's home. They
To
have
get
their
back to my
store.
wonderful, I forget that there's a French term that says, don't speak, or is it Latin? Don't speak badly of the dead and all, but, she hurt me too much, my sister. Again, she ruined Fred's life. When my father died, that was before, now let me see. Well, she had a house up here, yeah, by that time. But why didn't she say to my sister, look, you're still young. My father died almost 30 years ago, 73. And it's 1 year from 73.
Yeah, I know.
So she said, I'll take care of Papa, you make a life for yourself, whatever. She continued until my father died. She took care of my father, Sylvia.
Hi, Alice.
Are you laughing or crying? A little
Both
bit
at
of
the same time.
Yeah. Does she always do this?
No. But my father eventually married, he couldn't run a business and take care of a house with 5 kids or 6 kids, whatever. So pretty soon, somehow they made it arrest somebody, they call him, like that play they had, oh, I got a wife for you, you know.
Yeah.
And there was this woman, an attractive woman, widow, had 2 sons, and I guess my father met her and all, and he was a virile guy, and they got married. And I remember, we lived in Williamsburg, and the 2 sons, Bob and Irving. Bob is Bob Polanski, Bob Pollan, who's Tracy Pollan's grandfather. I always heard stories about this woman from my sister. Oh, she was no good, she used to hide food, she only took care of her sons. And I wasn't totally aware, she used to be very nice to me. I was very young at the time. Years before I was even bar mitzvah, I was 8, 9 years old, 7 years old, I don't know.
So you
And she
remember
went in
her?
and she told my father the same stories, and my father ended up divorcing her. What the
How old
hell?
were you when he divorced her?
All right, let me see, my father was, trying to figure how old he was. He was 35 when I was born. I'm sure he wasn't 40. He was in his late 30s. And that's a hell of a thing to live without a woman in your 30s. And she was so poor and all, she couldn't take care. They had my sister Bea and Fred. I never referred to them as half sister, half brother. Always they're my sister and brother, same as any other sister and brother. Except they had a different mother. And she died not too long ago, after my father did.
And Beatty, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, my father, in talking to him once, said, maybe I said to him, Pa, why did you get a divorce? I was mature then, I guess he could talk to me, and he said, she didn't take care of the kids the way she should have, she only this, she only that. And it wasn't until I started to teach school, and I began to have a bunch of kids, and I got to meet some of the parents, that I understood the phrase, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Because if a kid was a pain in the ass and I spoke to the parents or met with the parents, I could see why the kids were what the hell they were.
Right.
And if the kid was a nice kid and I met the parents, they were a delight. They were nice parents. So here's Bob and Irving, two of the nicest guys, really, that you'd want to meet. They were so nice, gentlemen, good. And I'm saying to myself, something's wrong with the story I heard. If she was supposed to be mean and rotten and this and that, why are her kids so nice?
Right.
Her kids would have been grubby and this and that and demanding and
Right.
every. But I said, this is my sister Bertha's doing. She wanted to be the boss, and of course she couldn't be because Sophie, that was her name, was my father's wife, and it was her place now to run the family. And I can tell you, my sister made life miserable for me, because I wasn't the best kid in school. Without a mother and all, I looked to get attention, I acted up in class, and she used to sign the report cards, and oh my God, the worst thing in the world was to bring her my report card. She wasn't about smacking me around too, calling me names. So, my father suffered all his life because he didn't have a woman. My sisters, when my sister had the abscess, she finds the hospital for her to go to a little shit place on a side street. When Kings County was walking distance, one of the finest hospitals. Brodsky, when he was in Chicago Medical School, when they asked him, where do you want to intern? Says a lot of the guys wanted Kings County or Bellevue because they had a reputation for being great hospitals. If she'd gone there, I guess she'd be alive today.
Yeah, of course.
But she took her there. They did a lousy job on a surgery. And then she lived with my sister, and she walked on an invalid for a year. The goddamn doctor sent the psychiatrist to the house, and he said, look, it's all in your head. You're imagining it hurts you.
Right,
Can you imagine?
right, yeah. So you know what I learned from this whole story about Aunt Bertha? Is not to let bad people rule my life. To push bad people out of my life and conduct my life the way I want. That's what I'm learning from this. To recognize people who have agendas and not to let them interfere with me because they have insecurities or problems with having to control me.
If you know what you're doing, if you make mistakes, then somebody should talk to you
But
that
it seemed
has more
Bertha's
experience.
Bertha's reasons were all the wrong reasons.
That's right. Her reasons were, how will this affect me?
Right. Not what's really good for the person.
That's right. Not like me, when my kids wanted to do something. Well, see, you seem to think that I was an ogre. Somehow you said, oh, I couldn't do this, or I wanted to do that, or whatever.
I had a lot of freedom when I was growing up.
Well, not from what I hear, what you told Susie or whatever.
Oh, you gonna believe what Susie tells you about me? Please. I used to look at all my friends and think how much freedom I had. I never had to ask you, can I go to Fran's house, Barbara's house? I made up my own mind. I used to make my own dates to go babysitting.
Only hope that you were brought up right and knew what you were doing and knew what your responsibility is and so on.
My friends used to have schedules where they had to do chores and they couldn't leave the house unless their bed was made. I had none of that crap. I loved growing up.
That's why I wanted to ask you, what kind of a father was I?
You were a great father.
Well, maybe I never wanted to say this, and I never want you to repeat this. But where you're sitting with Brother David was, and you too, Kenny, please don't ever say this.
I won't repeat it.
It's something that I'm living with. It's a butter in the saddle. I can't believe it. And we were talking about him getting a house and all that and financing it. And he suddenly comes out with, "You were a lousy father for 40 years."
Wow.
I heard that. I swear my heart must have stopped.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to hear.
From your own child.
Oh, my.
I didn't say anything.
Right.
We continued with whatever, and I still got his house financed there.
That's heartbreaking. You know what I was thinking? Very recently, I think in the past 2 years, one day I was thinking about, since I moved through Rock Hill, the man across the street has 3 daughters. Back in Davie, Mr. Hyder, Rachel's friend Rebecca's father, 3 daughters. I'm thinking, I bet they had that 3rd kid, hoping it would be a boy. And then all of a sudden one day I said, I bet when my father, you, found out that mommy was pregnant for the 3rd time, you wanted a boy. You must have wanted a son.
You want to know something, the honest
You
truth?
didn't care?
I didn't
Oh,
care.
okay.
Yeah, but you got
So
her.
anyway, what I was
The
gonna
first
say.
one, I wanted a son.
Yeah,
I got the name now going on, Gorowski, whatever.
yeah.
Okay, after that, I wouldn't care, like my father had 5 girls in a row.
Uh-huh.
Then I was conceived.
Right.
My mother was conceived with me.
I was just thinking, since David wasn't very mechanically inclined, he was kind of klutzy, maybe you wanted a son, maybe this one would be the,
You know, David is mechanical, but he's lazy.
but what I was thinking is, if that's what you wanted, you got me. I am like the son you always wanted.
I feel maybe I thought that also a few times.
She always says that because she's very mechanically inclined. She likes to
Oh, is
build
it?
things. She likes to use
I'm
these
the
saws
science, I like
so
science.
she goes, I'm this way because my father always wanted a son for the 3rd one, and I just became that. That's her reason for being
Well,
mechanically inclined
I
and
was
interested.
tomboyish,
She
I
always
liked to play in the
blames
woods.
you for that.
Hello,
Well,
how you doing, pretty lady?
David was gonna come up from, you know, he and Miriam lived near Washington. And he was supposed to come up, and I get a call from him, my battery is dead all of a sudden, this and this. I told him, David, it's your alternator, you need an alternator. Let me tell you what you should do. And I explained precisely, there's a couple of electric wires that come in, you disconnect those. Then, if you look, you'll see that there's a belt that goes over it, a fan belt. Take that off, and there's 2 bolts on either end. You take them out, go to a store, an auto parts store, they'll give you another alternator. You reverse it. Put the 2 bolts in,
Right.
and put the belt on, put the 2-eye, and he did it, and he
Yeah.
drove the car up.
He
You
can
know,
fix my car now.
Besides Alyssa, you have another admirer. You know who that is, right?
Not
Yes.
particularly.
Think carefully. Someone who says he loves you more than anyone in his family.
Oh, bull crap. Brian?
Yes.
The
do I-
nephew kid.
I'm not lying, Murray.
Yeah, he does.
He tells me on the phone he loves me. I said, yeah, okay.
He doesn't lie, Brian. He says, I only have one relative
One
who
One thing
like
I
you.
tell my kids,
He says,
don't lie.
he says to everyone that if you don't like the way I am, it's because I'm just like my
Hello,
grandfather.
baby.
I'm just like Murray. That's what he says to
Maybe in
everyone.
some ways, maybe he's a little stubborn
He
too.
is very stubborn, but he blames it on being like you. He goes, that's the only one who will understand me. That's why he felt so terrible when he was in a fight with you. He says, even the person I most love doesn't love me.
Did I ever tell you not to lie, or did you learn, or maybe you lie, I don't know.
No, she
Fine.
doesn't.
I'm not a liar.
That's one thing I told you. I'm sure, because I said, if anything ever comes up, and I ask you what happened, I want the truth. Because if you lie, and I know you lie, then I don't know if I'd be willing to.
Can't trust you.
I can't trust you in essence. So don't ever lie to me. And I told Susie, I think you were a little too young to date. When she started getting up there, I said, Susie, if you ever go out, and if you ever have a problem with a boy you're going out with, get out of the car, go to the nearest phone and call me. I don't care where you are, I'll come and pick you up. Remember.
Did she ever call you?
No, she never went out. That's a joke.
That's a good ending.
That's funny.
Did you have to shine this in my eyes?
Well, we can't see you. It's dark. Actually, I put that on to read this, but I'll sit over here.
Yeah, I saved it because of that. I'll put the heat on, so when I was
Which
working
way
in
is
the
hot?
basement,
It's
I
warm,
put the
it's not
stove
cold,
on.
Yeah,
it's
we're
not
warm.
cold at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's a beautiful day.
There.
I have some things I wanna
No,
show you today.
I'm not cold.
No, I brought you this.
It's a
It's a
shirt.
present.
Oh,
Didn't we once lose a
Look.
shirt of yours?
thank you.
It's warm.
It's insulated, but
Kenny bought one, I liked
Here.
it so much I got you one.
feel it.
But you can wear it in the house, it's not really a
Well,
jacket.
it's nice, it's something I would wear, something I would wear, because I'm always grabbing something, and I like a heavy thing when I'm in a car.
Hi, Elsa,
Oh,
smile.
put this on your back.
But,
Whenever you wanna see some stuff, I got it all set up.
yeah,
already.
it'll be
So
later.
just let me know, it's all ready.
What do you
Hi,
like?
hi, Elsa. She's happy we're here. She misses the paintings that I used to do with her, remember? We used to go 1, 2, 3.
And one of the reasons I laid her down,
Oh, poor baby. She looks so pretty though, look at her hair.
today I remembered to comb it.
Oh, yes. We bought you chicken and all sorts of good food. You're gonna have a good time tonight. We're gonna have a party, okay? A Hanukkah party tonight. Elsa just wants to be part of the conversation, right? Yeah, it was very interesting funeral. I haven't been to many, but that was a very shocking one.
It was really very shocking to me, because I remember when he was born, when he had his bris,
Yeah,
I was 16 years old.
Boy, the lady said that he just was drinking. I can't imagine him doing that. I mean, knowing him as the teacher I knew of, it's I guess people
No, he
just
didn't,
go
he
through
never
things.
drank.
No, he was such a serious teacher.
Oh.
You know, he was my teacher. I had him. I had him
Really?
here. Yeah, I had him.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was a teacher of mine, and
Who was
I
your
liked him
science
very much.
teachers there, do you remember?
Heitman I had, and I liked him I loved him.
Yeah.
He was
Wanna know
great. What a
something?
great
He was
guy.
a lousy teacher.
But he was a nice man.
He was.
He was a good man.
He was a nice,
good-
really
yeah.
nice guy.
And you know what? But he didn't have to be a good teacher. He was a good guy, and that's leaves an impression.
You know that he's a native? He went to Spring Valley High School. He
Yeah.
owned-
Is he still alive? Still?
I really don't know. After I retired, I heard he wasn't feeling well, and I went to visit him.
We saw him at Hillcrest
He never.
years ago.
How long?
God, what must when we were living at Hillcrest? What,
Oh,
76?
that's 20 years.
75? 30 years ago.
No, he was a World War II also.
Yeah.
So that makes him. The other day was Pearl Harbor, December 7th. 60 years. I can't believe it. I was working in a shipyard up in Boston in my early 20s.
What's the matter, sweetie? She's talking. Look at that. I knew you could talk. It's Kenny. Yeah, I'm right here. That's who I am. I'm here with Alissa. One of your two favorite daughters.
What are you doing, Alyssa?
Nothing.
Oh, nothing. Sit down.
Eating with a big fat. Look at her. There's Alissa.
If you're hungry, you want something.
No,
I'll
we
put some-
bought so much stuff.
I
We
just
bought
took a few
chicken
bites of
and-
stuffing, just to tide me over.
We're gonna have like a big feast tonight.
I haven't eaten
Whenever
since
you're ready.
early.
I'll tell you, Susie went there at 12 o'clock, and I told her 2 o'clock.
David's gonna come by, he said. He's gonna stop by, I think. Did he say so?
Yeah, he said he's gonna
So
stop
he's
by.
gonna stop by, because we're gonna be here to say hello to us.
Hello there.
But she had a couple of hours to kill, so she came up here. And she left to go back there.
We saw her, but she wasn't too happy, or,
No.
she didn't say hello. I said hello to her. Said hi, Susan.
Funerals are not the time to,
Now, I told you before, the conversation I had, the last one with your Aunt Bertha. And she had no kids to send to college. She had no grandchildren to spend money on. was just she and Fred. As a matter of fact, when she broke it up between Fred and the Driscoll girl, he showed up here once, you know, practically in tears. And he told me, this is when I heard the story about how she heard the Driscoll girl say to Fred, "Where's your mother going to live when we get married?" So he was besides himself. I said, "Look, I'll tell you what, Fred, if you don't feel you don't want to face your mother now, go to a motel and all." And he says, "I have no money." I said, "What do you do with your money?" He gives his check to his mother.
Huh.
That's a nice guy. I hope Brian does that one day.
Well, if I can have 3 kids and send them to school and spend all the money you have to spend when you have a kid, you know, you had kids, and manage to come out a so-called millionaire, what does my sister have? What does Fred have? With all this, and by the way, the most money I ever made was $30,000 after 20 some odd years. And 3 college degrees. You see, every time you got 15 college credits, you moved into a column further over on a pay schedule and you got more money. So I was way over, and way at the bottom. I mean, I was the highest paid, 30, and I got $1,000+ for being a chairman. So it's really only 29 to 28,000 was the highest paid salary. Salaries jumped after that for teachers. Went up to $60,000, $70,000, and Fred was there a long time. I'm sure he was at the end of the salary scale.
He was the chairman too, right?
Yeah.
So he must have got the top pay.
I gave him some very good advice. That's how he became chairman. So all this money, there must be, I wouldn't even think about, I couldn't say, because I don't know what my sister might have done. She wasn't a spendthrift. She didn't buy jewelry or what. As far as I know, her power was in having the money. She wanted money.
I think that your niece is going to do some kind of investigation or something. What's going on?
Well, I thought it might be better if you did it somehow. Because there's a house that's worth, in the market today, probably anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000. It's on a nice secluded street. It's not a development and all. It's a fairly good plot that goes with it. I don't even know what kind of a car he has.
Yeah, but the thing is that these people are claiming to be his family and his wife. I mean,
Wouldn't it depend on whether he has a will or not?
That's right.
or if he has a marriage certificate.
Even if she is married, it doesn't mean, I think that even in law, she doesn't get a full 100% if he has other claims on him.
If he doesn't have a will.
I think even if there is a will, and he leaves his wife, I'm not sure.
If
See,
you have
that's
a
where you
will,
have to know the law.
I think they go pretty much by the letter of the will.
But how long do you
Unless
have?
there is some strange circumstance, like they really weren't married, or,
If he was going out with her while my sister was alive, your Aunt Bertha had only passed away a few years ago.
Right.
And he would never have married her and she lives in her own house somewhere. She doesn't live in his house.
right,
So it looks very fishy somehow.
questionable.
But I see that Bonnie is already looking to get into the act.
She's already in the act. She already told the guy, I heard her, I was walking behind her, and I heard her go up to the head of the chat.
That was really not the place to talk money.
No, it wasn't, but she went up to her and she
She
said.
alluded to it.
She said, well, this is what I heard. She walked up to her and she said, make sure no one touches a thing. I don't know what she was referring to, but I
He
assumed,
has no
Yeah.
control
I
over
was
anything.
assumed that, I don't know what, maybe his personal effects, she didn't want them to have, or,
Well, I'm
I
sure
don't
that it's
know.
way over $1 million.
Huh.
Hell, if I can amass all this money, and I didn't even half try, really. I didn't go to Wall Street or anything.
Right.
What if, somebody should call up your niece and find out what she plans to do. I'm sure
Who,
that
Sally?
your sisters and
Well,
them are-
you have an uncle that's a lawyer and all. If it goes through, you know,
contest
he would
it.
get paid and all, it wouldn't be free work.
Yeah, he could contest it.
It would have to be,
Alyssa would have to call him, you'd have to call and say in the name of, your father
How
or
do we
yours,
find out if
you
he had a
could
will
contest
or
it.
not?
You
How do
have
you
to,
find something like that
you have to
out?
call the chapel up and find out who's representing Freddie Tunis's estate.
I
That's
don't
what
think
you
they
have
have
to do.
anything to do with that,
no,
they
they
just
don't,
do funerals.
they're just, she said to Susie that she was paying for the funeral, I said, when you talk to her, tell her that she'll be reimbursed, I would pay for it.
Who's paying for it?
Sally?
Oh,
I would pay for it. No, the woman that he,
Oh, Michelle, what's her name?
whatever her
Michelle?
name is.
Michelle.
Because she's the one that called my sister Jane, and Jane called me. And then I spoke to Susie, but she also called Susie and told her.
well, the way it was done at the ceremony, it appears that they officially stated, I don't know what that means,
They
anything.
can say anything they
But
want.
what they said was,
Show me the
What
the
money.
Michelle
immediate
told them.
family was them. I think that these people are gonna do everything they can and it's probably, they're gonna try to expedite it as quickly as they
Well, by the
can.
way, what did this woman look like, his wife?
Chubby,
Beautiful.
black lady,
She was very attractive.
pretty.
She was older, I'd say she was
Older.
about 50.
Well,
She
you
was
know,
attractive.
Fred, when I start to
60.
think of it, Fred was up in his 60s,
Yeah, David said he
She
was
older,
66.
yeah.
later, older than that.
It's hard to tell with black people because they look young. They really do. 50, you know what? If I'm 44, she must have been about 60. What do you think?
I don't know. I think she was about 60.
Yeah,
She was
probably
about
around
60, 65. She was an older woman.
She was attractive.
Yeah. I mean, if that really was his wife and they really were legit, then there'd be no reason to contest it. But if she was just doing that to get his money, I mean, who knows? How do you find out these things?
I know.
It's like
Where
that-
did
it's
he
a
meet
That's
her?
how, that's why a lawyer
You
who
know,
knows the ins and knows the Hall of Records, it would have to be filed, the marriage certificate has to be filed.
don't you think that
No.
you should call up your niece and find out what she's doing and what's
No.
going on?
No, absolutely not. I haven't spoken or seen her in decades, I don't want to start now.
She was a busybody.
Because I used to run, she's older than your mother, by the way.
Sally?
Yeah,
Wow. She
So
didn't look it.
she's to Freddie
Jane.
what Alyssa is to Freddie, basically.
huh?
She is to Freddie
She's my cousin.
what Alyssa is to
Yeah.
Freddie.
Exactly.
Yes, she's a cousin.
So-
First cousins.
So you have just as much business as she does to.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, that's, I'm trying to just,
Bertha and her father Sidney and me, we're all on his
well,
brothers and sisters, so therefore all these kids are cousins.
well, if you and Alyssa decide that that's what you wanna do, I'd be happy to call Harold.
Well, I don't intend to
but-
sit and,
I think
Let's-
that somebody better do something quickly because
that's right.
they're gonna be gone and it's gonna be gone, his estate.
Well, if he had a will, then his lawyer calls
Well,
in
you say we
whoever's in the
don't know
will.
if there's a will,
No.
we don't know if he married her.
No, but
This is all a shock to the rest of the family.
you have to get a lawyer to investigate
You
this whole
can
thing.
tell him if you want the kind of mother he had. She was a kind that,
Harold might feel it's better to get a Rockland County lawyer because all of this is in Rockland County and it probably has to do with going to the courthouse in Rockland County and getting papers in Rockland
Legwork,
County.
yeah,
It's
legwork.
probably a lot of
I don't
Rockland
trust any
stuff,
lawyers.
but that's the thing,
I think if he's a relative, then
you know.
he
He's
will
in-
screw you.
He's on Wall Street, though.
Part of the problem is if they're, you don't want
can't
these
very
Perhaps he
well-
can tell you what to do. Say,
Yeah.
what, how would we, you don't need a lawyer all the time to go to the Hall of Records. Anybody can go
Yeah.
there.
I think the first thing you have to do is call up and you have to make a claim that you're contesting something.
And we're not
That-
contesting anything until we know what the hell is
Right,
going
until
on.
you, well, right,
If she was his bona fide wife and he had a will, then there's nothing to contest.
right.
If she was his common law wife, or not even just his companion, and he had a will and gave it to her,
But could she
there's
go
still
in his
nothing.
bank account today and then disappear? Is there any what stops her from getting his money like to this afternoon?
Her name's not on the bank account or on the checks.
Unless he
And
has
his money's all over the place.
stuff enjoined with her, she can do that.
But we don't know that.
We don't know, that's
that,
it,
yeah.
we don't know. So you have to talk
It's
to
confusing,
Harold.
that's why people That's why me and you have to
Get
get our
step-
papers
get
in
a-
order.
Get a paper with a pencil and precisely how do we go about doing this, unless he feels he wants to get involved for a fee, or his lawyer's fee or whatever. If there is anything, I don't know. I'm sure there's something. The question is, where is it and who gets it?
But that's so weird, he died. That's strange.
What?
It's strange, Freddie Tunis died. You got
Yeah.
that?
It is strange. Very strange.
He wasn't a very nice guy. I saw him.
Yeah, he was.
I saw him
Talk
take
nice
up
about it.
his hand to his father once. And, oh, you know.
How
You
do
know,
kids do
if
that?
I did it to my father, I'd be picking myself up off the floor. And my father never hit me. I didn't even do the dishes. I was rushing here and rushing there. I think Susie might show up later. She went back to work.
Who knows is running? I'm too sure.
Hi, Els.
Hello. How are you? Ah, blow my nose. How are you doing? How are you doing?
You know, so March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
Same as Marty. Isn't that funny?
Really?
Yeah, Marty was born on March 17th.
And
That's what Sally said to me.
1927, which was she was born in June 20, so she's by a few months older than your mother.
Mhm.
Gotta hang up the phone.
Interesting.
The cat, by the way, is sleeping down, laying down here.
Oh.
She's leery of company, you know, she,
Mhm. So, are you hungry? Do you want dinner? Yeah. We're having chicken for dinner. Sound good? Mhm. Good. What's your name? What's your name? Do you know your name? Yeah, I know your name. What's your name? Shit? She said, oh God, shit. You wanna sit up? No, I'm afraid to sit her up. Let's straighten these ones out. Oh, she's poopy. Guess me and my father will change her. Ugh. I'm gonna wash my hands. I don't wanna hurt you.
to break them apart.
I think I'm gonna email Mitchell and tell him that
But
story.
somebody told me, I was pale, when this happened, I turned pale. Well,
It's scary when I've seen April get in fights, it's scary, it's terrible, especially being on the road and meeting up with strange dogs.
yeah,
She got bit pretty badly
Yeah.
once, but she was okay.
I just often think of April and Zion.
Yeah,
To
well,
think
Zion,
Zion was young and he was,
she met an untimely death.
not that stupid that he hit that car.
I have a question. I remember once when I was young, I was home, I was 10, 12, 13 years old, I don't remember exactly. And I remember you telling the story of how you ran a movie at Kakia for the kids, and I believe you said it was To Kill a Mockingbird. And you were very aggravated because you said during the movie all the kids were talking and not paying attention. And I remember your words, you said, you would think when they saw a movie like that, they would get up and clap with a standing ovation at the end. No, I'm sorry, it was The Grapes of Wrath.
Oh,
Do you remember anything like that?
no, oh,
Because you used to run or you used to fix the AV equipment?
yeah, I could fix it. They used to come to me all the time with this, that, and the other thing.
But they never ran the Grapes of Wrath in Kakiat and had the kids sit and watch it?
I believe I did because
Or maybe you're raising
I
in the
brought
sun?
the film home and I invited the Byatts to come over. I got the projector and all.
Was it the Grapes of Wrath or
And I
Raising in
showed
the
her, I
Sun?
remember hanging the sheet on
Yeah,
the room divider, and I showed it to them. I don't think they saw it.
but it was the Grapes of Wrath, right?
Yeah, Jane Darwell was the mother, and
Yeah.
of course Henry Fonda
Henry
was the
Fonda.
guy, and Charles Grapeman was the grandfather that died.
Well, the reason I asked you is because a couple of weeks ago, Brian called and he said, I might be getting a second job at New Paltz. They needed somebody and I applied, and I might get the position of running the AV equipment.
Oh.
So I said, Brian, I have a story to tell you, an AV story. And I told him, and I'll tell you what I told him. I said, when I was young, Grandpa came home and one day from school and he said, today we showed the kids the movie The Grapes of Wrath. And I was really annoyed because they weren't paying attention, they were talking, and you would think after seeing a great movie like that, they'd be stunned, and they would have stood up and clapped for such a wonderful movie.
Well, I lived during those times.
That was half the story. Let me tell you the rest of what I told
Oh.
Brian.
Sorry I interrupted.
A couple of years later, 5, 6, 7 years later, I was married to your dad, and we were in our apartment, and we're watching TV. And the commercial comes on. Coming up next on the late movie, The Grapes of Wrath. And your father turned to me and he said, you have to see this movie. I saw it, they showed it at Kakiat, and I thought it was the most amazing movie I ever saw.
Who said that?
Kenny.
Oh.
So one kid watched it and appreciated it. Are you full? Did you know that? When you showed that movie, one kid stood up at the end and loved it. It made a real impression on him. That one right
There was
there.
another movie I saw on TV, which at the time amazed me. It was
No
so
more?
good. You ever hear of a movie, Paths of Glory, with Kirk Douglas?
I have heard of it. I've never seen it.
If you ever run across it, watch it.
Okay.
World War One. Kirk Douglas, boy,
The Ragman's son.
he had a stroke, and I saw them, one of us with his sons, like, they're evidently very affectionate to
Yeah.
each other. He has a few sons.
It's a close family.
And
Michael
the one that
Douglas.
won the Academy Award for Wall Street something or other looks sort of like him.
Michael Douglas. He has it nose.
Yeah, Michael Douglas.
He's on, what's that show? The West Wing? More drink?
Me and your mother saw Martin Sheen on Broadway, and the subject was roses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Remember seeing that Broadway play?
Imagine, we used to go fairly often, come home Friday, take a shower or whatever, and eat, get in the car, drive to New York. Used to park like 9th to 10th Avenue between, I guess not that many cars around then, and then walk to the theater. We saw The Music Man with Robert Preston. Not The Music Man? Yeah, that's about 69 trombones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Trombones lead the big parade.
And I didn't care for musicals, believe it or not, but we saw one that I liked so that I think Robert Preston was in it too. Oh, yeah, no, that's what I like. I liked The Music Man. I thought it was very good. So he and, was it Mary Martin, they had a musical and we went to see it. And boy, was I ever disappointed. I think it was only the two of them and a lot of singing and all that.
Speaking of Broadway in Manhattan, how did you first find out on September 11th about what was going on? Did you have the radio on?
I happened to be in bed and I had my radio right on the bed with a thing for my ear. And as I'm listening,
Are you listening to 77?
I listen to that.
So you're listening to John Gambling, 9 o'clock, Rambling with Gambling.
I think it was before 9.
Oh, so it was Curtis and Cooley.
Curtis and Kubley.
Okay.
But either that or I listen to public radio, which is the next station to it.
Amy Goodman.
Whoever's on it, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Well,
Different
she's got,
people.
I have two NPRs.
But they gave a
One's-
report about a plane hitting the, I was thinking, what? You know, it's, how could I be? And subsequently, of course, another plane, and subsequently the collapse.
So you listened on the radio the whole time to everything?
No, not everything,
Did you
but I
eventually
kept
go-
listening.
Did you go turn on the TV eventually?
No, I didn't want to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
But I did see it as it was coming in, crash in. I don't want to see it. I don't want to
didn't
watch and
either.
see a few hundred people being killed at that time in the plane.
They replayed it so many times that
Oh,
day.
that's terrible.
After a while, you became numb to it.
No.
Pretty
There are
shocking.
people like to go to executions. I don't.
It took me a good 2 weeks just to get over the initial shock. And Rachel was staying with us at the time.
Terrible, terrible.
As a matter of fact, the night before, Kenny and Rachel stayed up late listening to movies on the TV, so I went out in the camper and I went to sleep. And around 9:30, I'm sleeping in the camper and I hear Kenny yell, "Alyssa!" And then I hear Rachel go, "Mom, wake up, the World Trade Center collapsed." And the first thing I thought, and it's the first thing Rachel thought too, because Kenny said it to her, I went, January, March, September, is it April? Is it April 1st? No, it's not April 1st, it's not a joke. And I got up and I grabbed my shoes, I didn't put them on. I walked out of the camper and I went in the house. And I knew it was true. And I didn't know why it collapsed, I didn't know if it was structural or what. And then everything hit me, and I don't remember the rest of it. And that was only after 1 went down. I think Tower 2 went down, and then Tower 1 went down. And they put on the TV, and they were watching, and I got so upset I couldn't look at it. I went out for a walk, and I walked all the way down my road, and all the way back up. I couldn't look at it.
Should we give Elsa dessert before we eat, or do you want to wait till after we
What's
eat?
dessert?
Apple pie.
You can give it to her so we can get her into bed, then we can eat.
Okay.
We don't have to change her or wash her.
I
Elsa,
think
would
she's
you like
done.
some apple
She's not
pie?
eating anymore. We
Okay,
gave her 2 plates.
Let's give her apple pie.
Do you know that in World War II, a B-25 bomber flew into the world, flew into the Empire State Building?
I thought that like 15 years ago, a little 2-seater plane flew into it.
No.
It was during the war?
Yeah, and that's a plane that Tom Owens flew. He was a pilot of a B-25 in the Pacific.
I knew a plane had flown into it, but I didn't know when or what.
And it didn't collapse. Of
No.
course.
Did the fuel tanks explode and the
No. In a matter of a short time, they had it all repaired and everything. Just people in there were killed, some people in the building, and of course, the pilot, co-pilot, crew was killed.
Do you think Osama bin Laden's got a major role in it? Do you think he planned it and he's the evil perpetrator?
I'm beginning to wonder whether it took a lot of money. I don't know, and they say that he's wealthy.
Yeah, I heard he's inherited millions and millions of dollars.
Apple pie.
Do you like your drink?
Yeah, it's very sweet, I like it.
Delicious, this
It's
is apple
scotch
pie.
and something,
Ooh.
but I can't identify the other.
It's
Elsa, try
vodka
this, apple pie.
Oh.
and wine, sweet port
Try
wine,
this, it's
Oh.
delicious,
Great wine.
apple
It's
pie.
good.
just a little wine added to give it flavor. I don't
You
like
try
vodka
this?
by itself. Doesn't
Yeah,
have any
it's
Try
flavor.
this, apple pie. Ooh, is that
But
good?
this, it tastes like brandy in
Is
a
that
way.
good?
Yeah, that's it. It's like Southern Comfort or brandy or,
Yeah, not as sweet as Southern Comfort.
yeah, it's real, that's
My
sticky
father
sweet.
used to like Southern Comfort.
You're kidding, that used to be my drink.
Oh.
We used to call it sudden discomfort.
I never told you about my father working with bootleggers.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did, yeah.
how they caught him and all.
I don't remember though,
Couple
you
of
can tell me
times.
again. He used to
Whenever, this,
deliver,
the head of this was like,
Else, would you like some more?
these
Apple
big
pie?
gangsters. Dutch
There you
Schultz
go.
was the top of the outfit that ran the
Try this.
distilleries. They used to go until they were raided, then they'd look around for somewhere else to set up a distillery, just to make alcohol, that's all.
Mhm.
They simply added flavor and bottled it and
Oh.
sold it because
So beautiful.
people wanted to drink and they would drink anything.
Yeah, I bet.
And my father needing a job,
Yes.
again, no work.
Do you remember we used to paint? We used to
This was
line
quite early, this was
Very neat.
when it was in force, that was
We
during
used to make some beautiful
Hoover's,
pictures.
the end of Hoover's reign. When Roosevelt came in, they did away with prohibition.
And do you remember?
But,
when you were-
Hooverville.
He used to get $25 a day for working there, which was tremendous, $25 a day.
Wow, I remember you said you made $1 an
An
hour.
hour.
in the-
Else, would you like some?
That is
In
a
one
lot.
week, I
Would you like
once
some apple
made
pie? Here you go.
$125 up in
Is that
Boston. How many hours overtime? I got time and a half for overtime,
good?
double time Sunday. And I made
We
$125.
used to put the paintings right on that
40.
wall. I don't know what happened to it.
If I worked 10 hours a day,
Want some
85,
more of this?
so that was 40 hours plus 85 overtime.
well,
Time
40,
and a half is, you worked 16-hour days.
well, let me see. If I worked a 16-hour day,
Else?
it was the same as working an 18 hours. I got time and a half.
That was like 12-hour days.
Hi, Else.
You didn't get
No, wait a
double, you
minute,
got
no.
time and a half.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get
8 to
$1.50
16
the other hours.
is 8 hours.
Try some pie.
8 hours
Delicious.
plus
Oh, yeah.
4
Is
is
that good?
12.
Yeah,
12 and 8 was 20. $20 a day. 5 days is 100. And a Saturday was time and a half. I worked a little less
Prettiest
than
woman in the world.
how many hours? You say 16 hours a day? Probably 12 hours.
I changed it to 12.
12 to 14
16 hours would have been twice.
7 days a week.
Time and a half would have been 12 hours.
feel
So you
better?
only worked half a day.
And you just got up every day. You couldn't wait for Saturday because you went to work on Saturday.
Yeah,
Else?
it's kind of like
Would you
having
like some
kids.
apple
You never
pie?
have a day off.
When I decided I was going to join the Navy,
Yeah,
I left
that's
Boston.
good.
In September. It was starting to get cold up in Boston. I had that last winter I had was terrible. I can remember one morning, we used to get up and go to this place where we buy donuts and coffee. 2 donuts for a nickel and a nickel for coffee, dime. That was our breakfast. 30 cents for lunch and about the same for supper. But today again, 20 times as much is like paying $6 for lunch or whatever.
Elsa, would you like some apple pie?
It was 10 degrees below zero.
It's
It was
really
like 7:30 in the morning, quarter after 7. Then we walked from there, we had to walk the other way to go. It was right near where the trolley turned around, this diner. Then from there we walked down to the shipyard, and by noontime it warmed up to 0. And when you're working on a cold
Wow.
deck and there's water, and
Oh,
there's always the wind blowing, when there's water, water's always warmer. I hated it, since then I hate the cold. I can take the heat, but I can't take the
it's
cold.
over here. She shakes all the time.
So I decided this is a good time to quit September. I'll quit and join the Navy. And I came back to Brooklyn, and it was warm. New York was a lot warmer than Boston. Boston's 200 miles further north.
Even though Boston's on the water,
Warm.
it's still more north, so it's cold.
Whatever.
Would you like some apple pie?
So is New York on the water.
Else?
Yeah, I know,
It's a port.
I know.
Else,
So I
would you
went
like some
down
apple pie?
to a shipyard. That was near where your Uncle Sidney worked. Erie Basin. That was a shipyard. was called something else. It was in charge of the Normandy when they were converting it to a troop carrier, and they sabotaged it. About 5 fires started in different parts of the ship, and they poured so much water into it, the firemen, that the thing turned over and sank right at the pier. Eventually, they pumped the water out, somehow managed to seal it, pumped the water out and right it, and fix it up, and then it was used during the war. But that was the shipyard,
Let me see you smile.
and because they were in charge of it, they were
That's a good
responsible.
smile. That's a
So
good one.
they went like bankrupt or sold it.
That's a beautiful
And
smile. That's a
Todd
beautiful
shipyards,
smile.
they were all over the
Give me a
country.
big
Todd,
smile.
they bought it. It was
Here.
called Todd Erie
Here's some more
Basin.
apple pie.
That's where I went. I went down
We're
there,
having fun tonight. Here's
and they
here's
hired me
more apple
immediately.
pie.
They hired me,
Oh,
and
oh.
I worked 6 weeks straight without a day off, 10 hours a day there.
Here,
I
I
do
said,
that.
oh, I'll make tax money.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
Are
do that
you-
in Cape Cod.
Look, yeah, you
I would
know.
have owed about $400 in taxes, income tax.
Uh-huh.
So when I joined the Navy, and by the way, I couldn't get into the Navy. I went down and took a physical, and they gave me a cup, and I brought it back, and they squirted something in it, and it turned milky
You were
white.
pregnant.
Guy says, sorry, you can't take it. Come back in a week or so. So I come back in a week. And he does the same thing. So sorry, that's it. We won't take it. I said, wait a minute. He said, I want to join. I said, don't write me off and all like that. I said, why? Well, what's wrong? He says, well, you've got albumin in your urine. And that shows that your kidneys is something with your kidneys. He says, do you work very hard? Do you stand on your feet? He says, yeah, I've been working in the shipyard 6 weeks straight without a day off, 10 hours a day. He says, well, you go home and rest up good, and then
Ah.
come back in a week.
So you could put your feet up you were told to
What?
put your feet up for a while.
I evidently went back and worked in the shipyard another week. I don't know what the hell I did that week, where it showed albumin the second time.
Right.
And I went to the movies in the afternoon. I walked out of one movie, I walked into another movie. And then I went back, and I took the test, and boy, and he squirted it in, and it was clear. I said, okay, we'll take
Oh
it.
my God. That's so
Imagine a guy,
funny.
guys would give
Funny?
anything to stay out of service.
Bunny? Oh boy. Yeah, like Alice's restaurant.
Did she eat the pie?
Did she eat the pie? When Kenny started writing his book, and he started writing it in, was it Sail Cove or Springfield Port? He started meeting me, and he described the family I came from. He wrote a little bit about you and your father and your history a little bit. So
Well, that's why the book is,
it's going to be in print. How do you feel? It's going to be in bookstores across the country.
yeah, it
How do
depends
you
on
feel?
whether whoever's gonna do it is doing it for the money you pay him, or,
Oh, we're not paying him anything.
really?
Not a penny. Not a cent. We have a bona fide publisher.
When you told me the first time, I thought for sure they have a racket. Where
No.
they say, oh, we're gonna publish your book, but there's certain fees
No,
involved.
no. That's called Vanity Press.
And they only publish so many copies.
Originally, we were gonna pay to have it printed on the
Yeah.
paper, but that's all taken care of.
Very good.
Yeah. So you're immortalized. My husband immortalized you and your father.
No, no. Since I started taking care of your mother, I lost a lot of weight, but I'm
You look pretty
watching
good.
it now, and I was let go. I was fired, and it was the best job I ever had. I had vacation, 30 days a year, but most of my time went for bad weather. If it rained or snowed, we couldn't work, so we would use our time. And that was that.
The cigarette pack in the sleeve here, and you got the white T-shirt, and you're all.
Really? cigarette pack? I don't
Either
know.
that or you're holding a
I got
cigarette, maybe.
I have a picture taken with a cigarette dangling out of my mouth.
That's it, yeah,
That's Leo's
that's
picture.
so funny.
But as soon as they said that there's a link between cancer and smoking. Stop,
Oh.
never touched a cigarette in over 50 years.
Now, Grandma Jean used to smoke. We couldn't believe it when she told us. She said but she quit.
That's okay, just throw it, just
All right.
place it gently in the
Well,
sink.
you trust me, I'll have to watch.
And get ready to go, you got an hour to drive or so. What time is it up there? Look up.
5 to 8. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. All the
You
food
probably
irritates
learned
me.
more about me today than you ever knew in your... I had an interesting life, but I stuck with it. I went to college. I lost a lot of credits in engineering. I used to travel from Flatbush all the way up into the middle of the Bronx, where the NYU had a school. And all the pre-med and dental and all that, it was the arts school. You went for a Bachelor of Arts. Downtown they had a bunch of schools, but the School of Education was down there. And when I left engineering, it was simply too tough. If I could be like the kids, a lot of them lived up there. They had dormitories and all. And if you get stuck on a problem, you run, hey, who am I going to ask? I used to read my math books, word for word, to try and figure out what I should have learned in class.
So did I remember that.
If the professor, he was the oldest guy in the faculty, I think, because in graduation he carried the banner first going. And he used to tell us about his farm in Vermont. And then, oh, the bell's going to ring, do these and these problems for homework. Yeah, but you didn't tell us how to do them.
Right.
And every day we kept on going. This is calculus and all. But it was that engineering drawing was very, very tough. And then Susie and David got chicken pox and I was up. We used to take turns, me and your mother, at night, checking them. We used to tie their hands to the crib so they wouldn't scratch and all. And all. But anyway, I missed a few days and I said, I got to give this up. I can't do it. Simply impossible. Like I said, if I was 18, 19 and not 35 with a family, I was very glad I went to the School of Education. I had a friend that was an engineer. A friend of hers that was in training, she married this guy, very nice guy. And he worked for transportation. He was an electrical engineer. And he used to tell me it's a lousy job. He says, you know, when you go up and work for a firm, first thing they do, they sit you at a table and you're doing drawings. After the first semester of engineering drawing, the guy that taught us, he wasn't a professor, he was an instructor, said to us, do you know that you're all qualified to be draftsmen now for what you've learned in this class? So evidently that's what they gave him. When you came out of school, you were like a draftsman, you did blueprints. He said, and after a few years of that, they'd fire you and hire another guy out of school because they didn't want to keep raising your pay.
Yeah, they still do that.
So I was glad I didn't go through with it. Just traveling alone from Brooklyn all the way up there and being in class early in the morning was the baddest from there to City Island. But this guy was funny. He was a very nice guy. Much too nice for the one he married. She was a little bit of a bitch, the one he married. But he loved her. I was working for the Parks. That was before I went to school. And we were friendly. We knew each other because your mother had all the friends were nurses that were in her class. A lot of her friends. All of her friends, I don't know. So there was a guy, Harry Abramowitz. He worked in the Parks too. That's how I met him.
Yeah, I remember
He
him.
was a laborer, then he became an assistant gardener, then he became a gardener, and then he left and took charge of a housing project, all the grounds and all. But while he was there, he gave me some manure. I guess it was dried horse manure. He says, here, you can put these on your roses or something. I think I told him, your mother once sent for roses. They advertised, oh, you buy these, they're beautiful color, and you plant them, and you'll have a million roses and all, they never grew. So I must have told him or something, and he said, here, put this on your roses. So, I saw this, 8 o'clock. I saw this guy once, you know, met socially, whatever, and I told him, I said, gee, you know, a friend of mine gave me like a bushel of manure for my roses. So he says, I take it your friend is a horse. He had that kind of a wry humor.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Almost. He was a horse's ass.
Listen, you take some of this stuff with you. Here's
I
a pie
know.
that you didn't even eat.
You want anything?
I'm full.
Nah.
Kidding?
I get so stiff now that I'm older. I'm not really active. I don't